Okay, so here I've got unmodified rock band controller. I've got a decal on the front and some paint, but the actual electronics are not changed at all. I've got it hooked up to the USB port to my computer, just using the standard driver. Downloads automatically if you. It's actually one of the only Windows drivers that ever worked for me. And then I have it all going through a program to just accept the joystick input. Technically, any joystick will work. And that program, hopefully, gives you sound that can be used in a useful way. So basically, strumming makes a sound. Holding the frets makes different sounds. It goes up in scale degrees rather than steps. So this is like C, B, E, F, G. Instead of doing the entire range of the instrument, it just gives you the scale that you chose. Strumming upward plays a fifth higher. So this is C, this is D, or G rather. C and G, you can think of that kind of like having two strings. As an interesting side effect, that means you can play a scale the same as first position on a violin, using only the first three fingers. Now, the Rock Band Strat, or Rock Band controller, also has these additional 5 buttons down here. And although this works with the standard 360 Explorer guitar, I like the Rock Band Strat because this lets you have a much wider range as well. These buttons play an octave higher. So by combining the two, you can get a little over 2.5 octaves. Start and select switches through voices. I have different electric guitar samples, acoustic, bass, piano, some different waves. I'm going to use acoustic because it's the loudest. The tremolo arm by default bends the pitch down. You can also switch it, bending the pitch up, or bending the volume. In any of these three modes, pushing it all the way mutes the sound. Let's see. All of the controls are done using the frets. Holding the first fret and pushing start pushing back puts you into auto chord mode. Anything you strum will play the chord using that note as the root. You switch it to a minor chord by pressing it again, or switch it to an open fifth. Holding the red fret, pushing back, toggles monophonic mode, which means only one note can play at a time. That's kind of like a toy. Holding the yellow fret and hitting back switches between the different bend modes. Bend down, bend up, and volume. Holding the fourth fret toggles reverb. Doesn't sound very nice. It's the only effect I'm able to do with the sound library I'm using. I've actually hooked this up through an actual guitar effects unit and gotten much better effects out of that. Holding the orange fret and pushing back, or start, actually switches through different modes. The first 4 different scales. Starts out by default in a major scale. You switch to a pentatonic scale, which is 5 notes. A lot of nursery rhymes use that scale. Chromatic. This is similar to how a real guitar works. Each fret goes up by a half a step. So in this case, the up strum is actually a 6th or a 7th higher or something. It's not very intuitive. It's not very easy to play or to memorize notes, so I don't really use it, but it's there. And it allows you to play every note, including all the notes in between the notes of the scale. In other words, this is the only way to get accidentals, although you're limited to a single octave now. The next mode is minor. Sounds similar to the major scale. The fifth mode is actually percussion. You've got snare, hi-hat, bass, and this is actually interesting to play around with because your right hand can just keep a constant rhythm. And you can do a drum beat just by switching which buttons are held down. So yeah, that's just for my personal amusement. Let's see. Rock Band Strat has a couple additional buttons, the frets obviously, but also the switch down here, which is really useful because by using this you can tune the entire instrument up and down by octaves. So if I go up, now it's playing an octave lower. Go again, it's an octave lower still. Go up as well. So with that, it's actually possible to play the entire 8 octave range that humans can hear, but you're only able to have 1 or 2 at a time. The other option is the D-pad tunes up and down by half steps. So I can tune it down by 1 note, and now this is A flat, or I'm sorry, A sharp. So now that's A minor instead of C minor. And in this way, it's actually possible to play any scale using the same fingering. Sort of like how you can tune a keyboard up and down, and you don't have to memorize which keys to skip over. And, you don't have to have a different fingering for each scale. What else is there? I think that's pretty much it, actually. The interface is pretty nice. I'm going to show you that. Obviously it's better just look at a screenshot. It's much clearer. But it has little indicators for everything, shows you the waveform, blah blah blah. And the basic goal of this was just to hook up unmodified controller, get useful sounds out of it very simply. You don't have to memorize a binary finger scheme or have a MIDI program, guitar effects unit, or whatever. You can just immediately start playing around with it. The Guitar Zeros program is very nice, much more powerful, obviously, but it's a little harder to wrap your head around. So I hope you enjoy it, play around with it, goof off with it, send me suggestions, complaints, whatever, and have fun.